Yes. These oil tankers. It could be that we don't realize the dependency that we have on oil. Yeah. I redesigned the oil tanker so that it used the wobbler motor. Yeah. hmm And the wobbler does actually work. It does produce a tremendous amount of electricity. And when you think of the size of the propeller on one of these large oil tankers, yeah, it'd be nice to run oil tankers without having to have diesel engines. hmm Now, I was watching the federal government television channel last night. Yes, something I didn't know that I had available to me because I usually don't go on those channels. And I just wanted to know, Secretary of Defense, the sixth branch of the government that's going to be the space branch of the government. Yeah, the military. Exactly what fuel are you going to use? It's, well, as I explained, you have not explained to the American people, yes, why you need a space command. Now, it could be, yes, see this? A man can travel 60 miles per hour with a personal rocket lift device. Pew. Now, are we just going to jump from planet Earth to outer space and fight wars there? Because I have heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but you have what's known as shoots. Yes. Kind of like you can shoot an individual to outer space. Yeah. Or you were going to have clones of actual soldiers and sailors. Yeah. And they were going to be on the clones in outer space, and then they would fight from planet Earth, being on the actual look-alike of the individual in the military. Yeah. I have a real problem with your cloning technology. Um, any individual in uniform in the United States military that has a look-alike, it's a real war crime. Now, yesterday I explained about replacing citizens. Yeah. And how my experience has been is all this experimentation about having a spouse that as long as you pay for the sex, the spouse would perform oral sex. Yeah. But it wasn't the actual individual that you married. Now, did you want to explain to the American public how Raytheon or some other military company is going to manufacture? Yes. What could be, is it really 2 million active duty? Not to disagree with the President of the United States, but I thought it was 1.2 to 1.3 million American women in uniform. Yes, in the five branches, and that would be Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and National Guard. Yeah. Now, let's look at the militarization of the United States of America. In 2001, September 11th, yes, there was a terrorist attack on the United States. In 2003, we started a department called Homeland Security. Yeah. They have approximately 140,000 employees. Yes. And we militarized the United States because of a terrorist attack. Yes. And then we have 16 different agencies that all do intelligence for the United States government. The DIA, pooch, the CIA, oh, the FBI. Now, each of them has a certain amount of legal responsibility to inform the federal government about any threats of any sort of warfare. And then we have the Coast Guard, yes, but they are part of Homeland Security. Now, the thought is, yes, that the attack on the United States that took place 18 years ago did not cause a sufficient amount of damage to the United States to not warrant having to increase the militarization of the nation. So now we're having another branch of the military. So as to increase the militarization of the nation. Now, from the time of the terrorist attack through the Iraqi conflict, yes, to the liar loans and the credit crisis, we spent approximately $1 trillion equipping, yes, 72 fusion centers, TSA, and Border Patrol, yes, as well as the Secret Service of the United States of America. Now, looking at last year's expenditures of the United States federal government, yeah, we came in at approximately $1.3 trillion over what was budgeted. Iraq cost quite a bit of money. Do you remember that? Army. Spent $1 trillion on Iraq. Spent $1 trillion on Homeland Security. Yes, we spent a couple $1 trillion bailing out the world because of the credit crisis. Yes. And then yesterday, looking at the Federal Reserve website, all those employees of the Federal Reserve, I would consider you uh, federal employees of the Federal Reserve. You know, the state of Washington has what's known as a fiscal agent. Yes, yes, yes. That facilitates the sale of municipal bonds. Yeah. Well, the United States Treasury has what's known as a fiscal agent, and the name of that is the Federal Reserve Board. Yeah. Federal Reserve Banking System. Oh. Now, yesterday I thought somebody had a supercomputer that did know every security. Yes. And when going through your obligations as a fiscal agent of the United States Treasury Federal Reserve Bank, yeah, I noticed that you had a very close approximation of every known security in the United States of America. Now, it's not possible, yes, that somebody has actually went through anything and everything that was available to be owned by every citizen of this nation, so as to be able to account for all of the known assets that happen to be in the ownership of the population. Now, as fiscal agents of the United States Treasury Federal Reserve Bank, yeah, why don't you give me all the employees? Now, we just approved $320 billion. And when I first heard that, yes, I thought, well, they're making up some bullshit so as to be able to keep the government running. Yes. But I didn't get told, yes, that we were starting a sixth branch of the United States military so that we could actually spend all of that money supporting a new branch of the United States military without any intention of actually supporting the population itself.